Well, hello everybody. I wasn't going to do another video today. I really wasn't. I wasn't going to do another video. This was not in my plan. This was, but then this happened. So, so this is a tweet that we're looking at by CP24, and the tweet was sent out at 12:26 p.m. And it says NDP leader Andrea Horwath has been escorted out of the chamber at Queen's Park amid opposition protests over the use of the notwithstanding clause. And I was like, wow, that sounds amazing. So I found the question period from today, and I watched it in double time. And man, I'm going to show you. Well, there's not footage of her being escorted out of the house that I found anyway. I had to stop watching everything at 1 hour and 5 minutes, so I missed the last little bit of it, and I'm going to watch the rest of it tomorrow. But I'm going to show you a couple of questions and responses. I'm going to show you the clearing of the gallery, because you're going to see that all over the news, because they wouldn't be quiet, and they have to respond, like they were warned anyway. I'll show you all that. And yeah, I mean, Andrea Horwath and her caucus of merry NDPers, those merry socialists, they make a lot of noise and they're pretty disrespectful too. So anyway, let's have a watch. This is Andrea's like third question, but I thought it was kind of interesting. And then we're going to watch Doug's response.
Facts. The Premier rammed through undemocratic changes to Toronto's elections, changes that he didn't have the guts to mention at all during the election campaign. A judge ruled that that wasn't just reckless and irresponsible, but a violation of people's basic rights guaranteed by our Charter. And now the Premier is going to override the Charter of Rights for the first time in Ontario's history just to get his way. Our democratic rights, our democracy, includes an independent judiciary and a free media to protect people from politicians who believe an electoral majority is the mandate, gives them the mandate to trample on people's rights. Why does this Premier believe that democracy means he can do whatever he wants, whenever he wants?
Okay, just before, I'm going to show you Doug's response as well. I think it's important to watch. But I want to say, to use Section 33, Doug Ford did not get to unilaterally say, no, my law is law and that's it, and snap his fingers and it's law. He had to recall his legislature, and they have to have a majority up-down, or a simple majority vote, up-down vote. That's by law. That is, by definition, not a dictator. That's democracy. If everybody was like, hey man, this is crazy, you shouldn't do this, then that would be borne out in the vote. And I mean, yeah, there's a certain amount of whipping that goes on. And whipping, if you don't know, is the House has a whip. It's the whip's job to make sure that the members of the caucus vote the way the leader wants. And there's certain times where that's quote unquote okay, people voting along the party line. I mean, that's a whole other video, I suppose, Canadian use of the whip, etc. But as far as things go, they're well within their legal right to invoke Section 33, to use Section 33 the way they've used it, and even if using this Section 33, like even if it works, which it's going to work because it's completely legal, it's not something done by a dictator. This is democracy at work. Like, they had to recall the legislature. They have to pass the law. This isn't a unilateral action by the Premier, and it's almost like, it's almost disappointing to have to explain that to the leader of the opposition. Like, you'd think she's been in politics a while. You'd think she'd know that, right? Okay, so anyway, here's Doug. Let's see what he says.
Through you, Mr. Speaker. Here again, the Leader of the Opposition is down here protecting politicians, downtown NDP politicians' jobs. That's what the Leader of the Opposition is. Again, worrying about her buddy Joe Cressy, Mike Layton, Perks, Fletcher. That's what the Leader of the Opposition is worried about. I've yet to hear once the Leader of the Opposition worry about her own constituents in Hamilton. The people in Hamilton, when I visited, need jobs. They want lower taxes. They want lower hydro rates. That's what the people of Hamilton want. They want to make sure they have a voice for the people, and we will make sure we deliver our promises, and the people will decide over the next 4 years.
Next question.
Okay, so I'm going to show you a lot of the stuff that goes on now, because the gallery gets cleared. and it's basically right after the next question. So I'm just going to let you watch it until the gallery's cleared, and I'm going to speed it up to a little bit so it's faster.
Leader of the Opposition.
Thank you, Speaker. My next question is for the Premier, and I prefer to speak for myself. Thank you very much, Premier. I really prefer to speak for myself. And what I'm here to do is actually to protect the interests of all Ontarians. That's what I'm here to do today, Speaker. That's what I'm here to do every day. Hamiltonians, Torontonians, and all Ontarians. Look, the Premier has stated that his personal and vendetta against his enemies at Toronto City Hall is so important that he is compelled to recall this legislature to override the Charter of Rights and Freedoms in order to get that done. If it was so important to this Premier, why did he not mention it a single time during the election campaign that just ended?
Premier.
Leader of the Opposition, as I was crisscrossing Toronto, talking to tens of thousands of people, they were frustrated. They know the City of Toronto is the most dysfunctional political system in all of Canada. They're frustrated with traveling hours to work. They're frustrated with the high taxes. They're frustrated with transit not being built. The people of Scarborough were frustrated that Scarborough subway was voted 8 times. David Miller couldn't build transit. Rob Ford couldn't build transit, and neither.
You're making a feud. We're all going to throw up there. You're making the whole gallery sick.
Member for Essex, please come to order. The House will come to order so I can deal with this. I'm now addressing the people in the gallery. We welcome you here today to observe the debate, but you cannot participate, and you can't demonstrate in any way. Wow. Premier.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Speaker. We're here to serve the people.
We have to be able to debate without this disruption. If it continues, we will have to clear the gallery, and you'll have to leave. Premier can finish his answer. The House will come to order. The House will come to order. Official opposition will come to order. Order.
And you're using that as an anti-constitutional measure to try to push through something.
I'm sorry. We're going to have to clear the galleries. We have to clear the galleries.
Okay, so that's where he clears the galleries, and then at 10 minutes he confirms that they're clearing the galleries, so we'll just jump ahead a little tiny bit. And then recess, because there's a bunch of children who were told by a post on Facebook to show up down at Queen's Park to protest everything Doug Ford said. Okay, fair enough. So I'm going to jump ahead to another question that Andrea asks and is answered at the 36-minute mark here. And I just think that this is just so interesting to watch the official leader of the opposition behave like this.
Sides of the House to cease and desist imputing motive in the course of their questions. Final supplementary.
Well, Speaker, we all know who pays for their activists. We saw it during the election campaign. Members of this legislature, Speaker, we could be tackling the real emergencies that Ontario families are facing currently, like lead in school water, for example, wait times in our hospitals, 80,000 Ontario jobs lost in 1 month under this leadership, this Premier's leadership. Instead, he called us here to cut the size of Toronto City Council and override the Charter to do it. The Premier is trampling on people's basic rights to pass a law that he didn't even have the guts to campaign on. Right. Why can't the Premier just take a step back, take a deep breath, count to 10 for goodness sakes, accept that there is a more pressing priority, there are many more pressing priorities than his petty vendetta against his old enemies at City Hall.
Thank you. Thank you. Premier.
Well, through you, Mr. Speaker, Leader of the Opposition, at least we can count to 10. Unlike you folks, I know you get your budgets mixed up. I know that you were off about $5 billion, but we're there to save the taxpayers' money. We're there to put money back into the taxpayers' pocket. We're there to make sure we speak for the will of the people and uphold democracy. That's why we are here. We were elected to represent the people of this great province. We are here to make sure, again, we lower taxes, lower hydro rates, lower gas prices, and get rid of the worst tax ever, the carbon tax. Thank you.
Okay, so I thought that was good. Doug stays on message. And Andrea, again, willfully kind of misrepresents the whole legality of what Doug is doing. And I just, the way they structure their questions is bothersome. I'm just going to show you one more. Andrea Horwath asking the Attorney General, do you believe cutting Toronto City Councillors is worth do you believe cutting City Council numbers, so from 47 to 25, is worth violating charter rights for? And I think her answer is just absolutely perfect. So we're going to watch all of that question, and then I'm going to leave you for the night, unless I see something else that catches my attention before the end of this clip. So we're going to watch just for another minute or so.
New question. Leader of the Opposition.
Thank you, Speaker. My next question is for the Attorney General. The notwithstanding clause allows the government to override sections of our Charter of Rights and Freedoms. It is meant to be used only in the most extreme circumstances, when a judicial decision is contrary to the public interest. But right now, staff within the Attorney General's office are drafting a law that would invoke the notwithstanding clause for no better reason than to help her Premier settle personal scores with political rivals. Does this Attorney General, charged with upholding the rule of law in our province, really believe that cutting Toronto City Council from 47 to 25 seats is worth violating our charter rights for?
The Attorney General. The question was to the Attorney General. The question was to the Attorney General. Order on the opposition benches.
I just want to be clear, the noise you're hearing, and part of the reason why I wanted to watch this part was because the NDP continue to disrupt the House, continually disrupt the House. And it's through, they're just disrespectful. They're being noisy, they're yelling things out. And on the PC side, there were PCs yelling during Doug Ford answering questions, saying for the people, et cetera, et cetera. And that's kind of, there's some decorum with that. That's done, that's kind of like, that's okay, but disrupting the House the way they are this way and being told to stop by the Speaker, that's not okay. And it's not, the rules of this are not easy to understand, but it's, I don't know. If you've ever watched the House of Lords, if you haven't, watch it because it's a riot. It's very funny, but it's very raucous and it's very, very, this is tame comparatively. So there's different levels of decorum, but anyway, this is out of character for an opposition to behave this way, especially after multiple reminders from a speaker.
Mr. Speaker, thank you very much. We are using the Charter of Rights and Freedoms to uphold the Constitution. Mr. Speaker.
You guys don't understand the law. Do your homework.
Member for Essex will come to order.
Mr. Speaker, we believe that the Better Local Government Act is constitutional, and that is why our government is appealing the judge's ruling and that we are seeking a stay in the decision. Section 92 of the Constitution makes it clear that the province has exclusive jurisdiction over municipalities. And Section 33 of the Charter confirms the paramountcy of the legislature.
She says very clearly there, Section 93 says the municipalities are in the purview of the province. And she states another piece of legislation confirming legally we're on solid ground. We're not making things up. It's you guys who are misinterpreting this. And you heard somebody else say, learn the law. Yeah, learn the law. So as I said, I didn't get to the part where Andrea gets removed. I'm sure it's really funny, and I'm going to watch it tomorrow. But for right now, I think that that's a good place to leave it. Yeah, chaos at the legislature, and you're going to see on CBC that it's Doug Ford's fault, and there's all sorts of people upset they got removed. Well, this is why they got removed, because they're behaving poorly, and we have a decorum. We have a country to run, man. So figure it out. MaximeBernier.com, and hey, if you're in Toronto, check out Faith Goldie. Faith Goldie's a good chick, and she's the only one who's tough enough on crime, and I think she could do it. So check it out. All right. Oh, and if you're not 100% sure what all this is about, there's a couple of other videos I did about this that'll give you some history as well. All right, thanks for watching.